2012, from an investor's point of view, what are the most attractive areas of the project? Is it hotels and roads, or is it more the stadiums themselves, perhaps?
I think. Look, the way this has been looked at in other locations is hosting the games. Whether it's these games, whether it's the Olympic Games, whether it's the World Cup, the Football World Cup, is a very good opportunity for the country to overhaul all its infrastructure. Because most of the countries, even the more developed jurisdictions, need some overhauling in their infrastructure. We need a lot. I mean, that's significant. We're lagging behind. What investors are looking into right now is if you're going to build a hotel for the games, you have to have something to do with that hotel after the games. So nobody's going to jump in because of a small window of peak season, which is going to last a very short period of time. So they have to have a plan which envisages what to do after that. But I want to put this divided into two different sectors. There's the infrastructure, which is public, and there's the business, which is private. Well, the infrastructure, which is public, is up to the government to start, to finance and to fast track. But on the other part, it's just legislation. No businessman is going to come to try to go through the current permitting process to attempt to be ready with a project when you know that it's going to take you a year or maybe a year and a half just to get the approvals. So what is the private sector looking at right now? But nothing, unless I know exactly what are the rules of the game in terms of the permit. Absolutely nothing.
So the emphasis needs to be on a reform and a fast-tracking system.
And I would probably add, Peter, here that I'm glad that they have appointed a person with a strong hand, because the time required, the very short time frame that we have, needs very strong hand. Somebody that can organize and get things done. We've talked about Euro 2012 for too long. We need to start getting things done.
In terms of hosting Euro 2012, obviously there is a practical aspect in terms of the infrastructure development, the building of stadiums, the improvement of roads, hotel networks, but it also represents a very big PR opportunity for Ukraine to sell itself as an investment destination and as a country in general. Do you think they've made enough of that so far, and what could they be doing to make more of it in the next 2 years?
Well, to have an adequate dimension of what this means, our sports section in the newspaper was explaining, and this is about the 4th or 5th biggest event in the world. After the Olympics, the Summer Winter Olympics, first the World Cup, Football World Cup, Summer and Winter Olympics, and then is the UEFA. This means moving in between 500 to 800,000 people in a short time span. The statistics regarding the way this Football Cup has evolved was the UEFA in 1996, income was 147 million euros. In 2000, it was 230. In 2004, it was 853. So what is expected in 2008, it was $1.3 billion, only the income of UEFA. So this is an event that is growing in an exponential way. So I think that I wouldn't only be looking at the PR, because the PR, the Ukraine will be on the television sets all over the world. It's much more than PR. It's a way, I think, of leapfrogging into another dimension of country. And this has, I think, tangible benefits and intangible benefits. The tangible benefits for the population will be that all this infrastructure is in benefit of the visitors, but also after visitors leave, for the population. You will have a gigantic increase in the quality of roads, hotels, transport services. So, as you know, the country is undercapitalized in all these areas. So there will be a direct benefit to the population. I think it's a wonderful opportunity, and I think that the government realizes that it's a wonderful opportunity of leapfrogging into another dimension of country. So my general impression, without having any inside information, is that the country will do its best efforts to try and get all these problems and infrastructure developments on course and implemented on time.
Ukraine will have 4 host cities in Euro 2012, Lviv, Kharkiv, Donetsk and Kiev. Each one has its own specifics, and inevitably each one will have its own nuances as it prepares for the championships. Ukraine will have 4 host cities at Euro 2012. Eastern industrial metropolises Kharkiv and Donetsk will be joined by the genteel capital of West Ukraine, Lviv, and the nation's capital city, Kiev, which is scheduled to host the final itself. All 4 cities have embarked on ambitious building programs as part of their Euro 2012 preparations. But once the final whistle has blown on the Showpiece Football Championships, what will be the long-term impact for each of these host cities? Jorge, obviously, if we look at Lviv, it's a big tourist centre. There's a great potential there for developing that. But if you look at, say, the eastern cities, Kharkiv and Donetsk, it's not quite so clear what they'll do with all this hotel space afterwards. What are the longer-term implications, do you think, for the regional capitals?
I think that's probably the biggest question that most investors are asking themselves when going for the projects. If you look at Kharkiv, let's just take the case of Kharkiv. Kharkiv used to be the capital of Ukraine, is a very important city. If you look at the sort of graduates from the universities coming out of there, so I think that Kharkiv is an unrealized potential. There's a lot of other opportunities for investors coming out of those investments, not only the games. I mean, it's not even a secret that most of us go to recruit from the universities in Kharkiv. That there's machine building, that there's factories like Antonov. So I think that any potential project obviously has to factor in that this is not a tourist destination per se, yeah, but that there's sufficient business to give it a shot for future development.
In terms of simply bringing people into contact with these regional capitals, how important do you think it will be for the investment climate that so many people will physically go to Donetsk, will go to Kharkiv and Lviv, rather than just coming all to Kiev?
Well, I think it's very important because the Ukraine is a decentralized country. It has 5 or 6 big cities in comparison to, for example, my country, where we have 2 or 3 big cities. You travel to Donetsk, and Donetsk has it's the industrial capital of the Ukraine. Yet it has very poor airport, and it has a deficit in terms of hotels. So it has tremendous opportunities for growth potential. You take Lviv. Lviv has good hotel facilities and needs airport and stadium. Lviv today is focused as one of information technology providers for the world. So there is tremendous business potential in all of the Ukraine. The Ukraine is a country that, when compared with other underdeveloped countries, has tremendous investment opportunities. What it needs long-term is a stable government, a good judicial system, laws, but the Ukraine is a fabulous opportunity for investment.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for joining us, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week on Investing in Ukraine. Goodbye.